Check. 1.
1. Come on.
Hey, you are locked into the L Show with myself, El Formosa. This part of the show is mental health in music. In front of me, I have the lovely, talented, wonderful Janset.
Skr. Hello, babes.
Hey, how are you?
I'm so good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm good. Thank you for asking. How's life at the moment?
Life's good. I mean, when the days are gloomy, I don't feel as good. When the days are like the sun's coming out and stuff, I feel like, you know what? We're in action. We're good.
I think we've got to that point in the year where we expect the sun to come out a bit more. So we're waiting for that good vibe, those good vibes, that good feeling.
100%.
Because we don't get enough sunlight, as you know.
Yeah. Vitamin D deficiencies all around.
Yeah. All round. I was talking about that with Nikki Acute the other day about how vitamin D deficiency affects everyone, no matter what race you are.
100%.
And it's so common in the UK. I think we've noticed that over the last couple of years to do with lockdown and stuff.
Yeah.
Because we've not been getting out, obviously.
Yeah.
And we're all vitamin D deficient.
Yeah.
So sunshine, if you're locked in.
Yeah. Boost us up, please.
Boost us up. We're looking at the gloomy studio at the moment. I would describe you as a spiritual person. Can you tell me how that journey started for you?
It's that word, isn't it? Sometimes when you say like spiritual, people think of like different things. But I guess I've always been like a thinker, an observer, someone who contemplates about a lot of stuff, if you know what I mean. So I think if you're some kind of person that looks inwards rather than out, then I guess maybe along the way you try to help yourself, you try to build yourself up, you try to develop that side of you, that spiritual side, I guess, because it's like a mechanism more than anything, I think, for me anyway, to be in touch with that side, basically. Yeah.
Someone once said to me that once you know stuff, you can't unknow it. So as soon as something comes into your life and makes that connection for you, whatever that may be, it might be a book, it might be something that someone said.
100%.
Once you know it and you're on that path, you can never be the same again.
Yeah, I truly agree with that. And also, I think the more you know, you realise how much you don't know anything. So you stop chasing it and you just kind of are in the moment then, I think. Yeah.
Is there something particular that kind of resonated with you at a time in your life where you thought, hang on a minute, things are about to change here?
Definitely. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint when it started, I guess, but I started reading and writing like really early in life. And I think the books that I started to read at an early age, like, you know, you go through your youthful stages at, let's say, 12, 13, when you was reading stuff like Goosebumps and like funny kind of books that's getting you into that literature world or whatever. Once I started reading those books, I realized I'm not much of a novel person, but I like to read a lot about like information. And so I guess I just naturally started reading like self-help type of books, even though I hate when people call it self-help, because it's so much more than that. You know what I mean? But I started reading them quite early on, and I think that really had an effect.
I prefer to call them personal development books.
Thank you so much.
Self-help sounds, I don't get that either. It doesn't resonate with me.
Same.
Personal development sounds a lot better.
And
there's so many books on the market in that kind of section, and I always find myself in that section in the bookshop, standing 100%. There for ages, just thinking, there's literally a book on anything. Can you name me some of the books, personal development style, that you have read that have affected you positively?
Do you know what? Earlier on, we were speaking about the Celestine Prophecy book. Big up to Nikki every time.
Big up Nikki.
But that definitely was a big life-changing book. Also stuff like, I don't know if you've ever read a book called Conversations with God.
I've heard of it, but I've not read it.
See, I read that quite early on, like maybe 2004 or 5.
Wow.
And I was quite young when I read it, but I read all 3 books. And I remember that being just like a big turning point, because I was almost just like shocked at how this person obviously felt like they were channeling this, but it could also be a conversation with yourself. So then it kind of just makes you feel like you are the things around you, you are everything you're connected to. So that was a big one for me. And also, what was it called? Seat of the Soul?
Yes, I've heard of that.
That was a good one as well. And possibly The Alchemist. I read that when I was about 12.
I love The Alchemist.
Every Paulo Coelho book.
12 is an early age to read that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Luckily, I had a brother that was like 7 years older than me that always like showed me stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And if it wasn't for him and the hand-me-downs and stuff, I'd be a complete different person. Yeah. Yeah.
I think The Alchemist is the perfect book to start off from, and that can be read at any age. So yeah, I would. 12 is a great age to read that.
Yeah.
How early? Oh my God.
Yeah.
What did it say to you when you'd finished reading that? How did you feel?
I mean, the whole thing about just your destiny and just if something's gonna happen, it's almost just gonna happen anyway, and it's almost like being in tune with that. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. And I just think I had an obsession with Paulo Coelho from then. Yeah. He's got another one called like The Devil and Miss Prim.
Yes.
And also 11 Minutes.
11 Minutes, I've read that. Yeah.
Oh, such good books. So yeah, he was a big, I'll say like anchor in that journey. Yeah.
I've also read Veronica Decides to Die. I love that one. There's actually a film of that, but I've not watched it.
Yes, I haven't seen it as well, but the book is very powerful. Yeah. Very, very powerful, yeah.
Is there anything, I'm going to guess that books might be an answer to this question, but is there anything that grounds you when you're having a bad day?
On a bad day, I mean, just remembering why you're here, and sometimes remembering like what you want to achieve, and not throughout your whole life, but just even for that day sometimes, having a to-do list, having like feeling organized slightly makes me feel better. Yeah.
I feel like when you are organized about things, you kind of feel like you're in control. Yeah. Whereas sometimes you could feel quite out of control. Yeah. And if you've got a to-do list and you're like, right, I can get through this, I can do A, B, and C.
Definitely.
You feel like you've got a bit more control and you're a bit more grounded, right?
Yeah. And also not like beating yourself up when you can't you can't finish everything on your to-do list. Yeah. It's really just like leveling yourself out with like, okay, this is what I've got to do, but let's see how much we can get through today. Yeah. There's
a fine line, isn't there, between thinking, well, I've got a to-do list and I've got to do everything on it, but if I don't do it, I can save it for tomorrow. It's not such a bad thing. Like, it will get done. But
definitely. Like prioritizing the most important, maybe. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of a to-do list.
Oh, I love a little to-do list,
love
mate.
A to-do list. And when you tick those things off, it's so satisfying.
Oh, I can't even explain,
I want to talk about, we're going to get quite deep now. Yeah. Your mum, dad and brother were diagnosed with cancer a few years ago. How does one cope with illness in the family, and especially in that kind of volume?
I mean, it was definitely one of the most stressful times of my life. And I think me and you discussed as well that I didn't really ever speak about it publicly. Because I feel like there's like a thin line between like artists being open and some artists not wanting sympathy from the stuff that's going on in their life. So you don't know how to tell people. You don't know how to say, my mum's got ill, guys, and by the way, now my brother's ill and my dad's ill and I'm not doing well. It was such a hard thing to like say in public at the time, so I think I just didn't tell many people. And I tried to deal with it as best as possible, but at one point I think I was just riddled with like anxiety, with depression, kind of trying to be the strong one for everyone around me, but kind of feeling worried for myself as well, feeling like if these people kind of disappear, that's my whole family pretty much. I've never really had much of a big family, so it's always just been them three. So it was one of the most stressful times, I would say, in the last 5 years, especially when one after the other, they started getting different cancers as well. I mean, dealing with illness in the family is such a hard thing, and everyone deals with it differently. But for me, it was just about being as positive as possible, trying to be as strong as possible around them, but also then being able to release that energy when I wasn't around them. So I guess for me, it was just writing music. I really started to write all of the songs now that's on my album coming out. I started to really journal like crazy. I've always been someone that keeps a journal, but it become obsessive, trying to like almost process what was happening and what I was writing. And just, I guess, hoping for the best, constantly visualizing them being well. And I guess in a way, maybe it worked. I'm not sure, but I'm very grateful to say they're still around now and they've passed all those hurdles, but it was a hard time.
That sounds like something really difficult to deal with by yourself, and you know, you obviously told some people, but you didn't make it public knowledge. So having to deal with that behind closed doors while still trying to be strong for your family members, I can't imagine what that must be like. It's
hard to even describe. But I guess when I look at others that have lost family members from something so hard as cancer, I just feel grateful. And it's that sometimes as well. It's like remaining finding reasons to feel grateful even when things are completely falling apart. So sometimes it takes a little while to really like muster up what that gratefulness is and what it is around you. But you know, I started to feel grateful for just like clean water, from my shelter, from my house, and those are the things I started honing in on, like friendships and I guess that really helped.
How does your journaling process work?
I just talk to myself. Since I was maybe 9 or 10, I literally say, Jan, how are you? And that's how it starts. And then some days I'm like, I'm not doing too well. Some days I'm just like, I'm so happy I don't have anything to write. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can change. I don't ever have like an expectation, but it's almost like I don't know, one day when I get to 70, if I want to remember something that was happening when I was 14 or 24 or whatever, I always thought like dates and times of stuff. I'm very specific as well about the date and time, which is weird.
Wow.
Like I'll say, okay, 2:34, like almost like this is what I'm doing right now. And just keeping a journal, I guess, of like what's happening and how I was feeling all the time. What
does that kind of do for you? Is that like a release, or does it help you to gain perspective on things?
I'd say both, but a big release.
Yeah.
Because then I don't feel like I'm holding this stuff inside me, and I got more room for the lyrics, I guess, in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's been any lasting effects on you after having your family be so ill?
Lasting effects, I would say, yeah, good and bad, actually. My level of gratefulness and my level of kind of not taking things for granted definitely increased. Including with my family as well, making most of the time that you've got with people. Also making most of the times when you're feeling completely happy. Do you know what I mean? And riding those waves of like, when I'm happy, enjoy it, embrace it. And then when you're not, to allow that to happen as well. But long-lasting effects, I would say, yeah, definitely have to look after my health a bit more. So I try to be careful with my diet. I try to be careful with how I'm moving and stuff. And also, yeah, I guess it just makes you feel like life is short. So rather than the negatives, I try to hold on to the positives of the effects. Yeah.
I think like we all know that life is short, but it sounds bad, but we only really know life is short when something like that happens to us, don't we?
Definitely.
It has to be someone in your camp before you realise, actually, I can't take this for granted, because we might not be here for too long.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's really hard.
Yeah.
How do you how do you move on from that? So obviously, you know, your family members are well now, but personally, how do you move forward after seeing them so ill?
I guess not focusing on the times. I mean, like, thoughts are interesting things, right? Some people really express themselves and say, okay, I am my thoughts. And I'm not a believer of that. I feel like our thoughts are things that just happen throughout the day, and you have to hold on to the best ones. You have to keep your visualizations like seeing things for how you want to see them and not always for what they are, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So I constantly try to imagine them and remember them in times where they're happy, if that makes sense. And now holding on to the things that is now they're able to do you know what I mean? And where they weren't before, maybe when they were ill. So I guess it's just about focusing and keeping yourself in check with what you're focusing on constantly. And it's really hard, definitely a really hard thing. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years of practice to be able to choose your thoughts wisely, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful I'd done that work a bit earlier.
Yeah.
Because now it's a bit easier.
Yeah.
Whereas if that had happened and I'd never done this work, I think I would have crumbled, just completely, lost it maybe.
They say it's always a good thing to do these things while you're well and everything is good, so that when bad things do happen or you find yourself in a situation, you can cope a little bit better. Do you think that's true?
Yeah. And it's weird because people do stuff at different times of their life. They go through things and experience things at different times. So, you know, me doing it back then was right for me, but someone could start tomorrow and that's still the right time. So yeah, I guess something in the universe was like building me up for that.
Yeah. You also live with insomnia. Do you know what triggered that?
Don't have a clue. I just know I've never really liked the idea of sleep.
Yeah.
I'm not a bed person. I'm not someone that says, I wish I could stay in bed. That's like, you could ask my mum. I think from when I was like 3 or 4, I used to argue with her and almost debate with her. It's like, why do we need sleep? It's just a waste of time. I've got so much to do and think about and create. Do I have to sleep? Like, I used to really, really, never really enjoyed it, I guess. So from the age of about 12. I used to have to wake up for school, I'd say about 7. I'd go to sleep at 3 every night. So I think my brain has just been all right with 3 or 4 hours sleep for about 15 years.
Wow.
And now in my 30s, I sleep about 6-7 hours, and that feels lovely. Because I've actually got to a point now where most nights I can sleep quite long, and I kind of like the idea of sleep now, but I never used to.
Would you still say you live with insomnia, or is it something that does it go away, or can you manage it? Would you still call yourself an insomniac?
I'm definitely a night owl. I'm a nocturnal soul. Like, I feel better in the night. I feel more creative, more alive in the night. But I'd say I've found ways to manage it now. Yeah, and that took a long time as well, to get yourself into bed early so that your mind has time to switch off. You know, not using your phone before you go to sleep, not being on the computer. I think that's so much more harder these days for people. All that blue light stuff is just like insane. So it's just about knowing yourself, I think, and like doing the right steps to allow yourself to sleep when you've got insomnia.
But you know, you can manage on 6 or 7 hours, but then you could probably also manage on 3 or 4.
Basically, I went to work the other day. I went into the office first time in ages with like 4 hours sleep, and I'm like, well, I don't feel that bad. So in a way, there's benefits, but it's not good for your body all round. So I know that.
Do you think that what are the kind of effects of insomnia on you? Do you, I would say, obviously, if you don't sleep a long time, what do you notice about yourself that's different?
You definitely start to feel delirious a little bit. You get this rush of energy sometimes that's not real energy, if that makes sense. That's the only way I can describe it. Like, you feel like you're on this high.
You feel like you're really, really hype, and you know it's because you're tired. Like.
And your body's like, we could do this, and then there's a crash at some point. And also, I used to start getting like memory problems because of it as well.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And I think when you've got thyroid problems as well, which is something that I've always dealt with, it's all, I guess, hormonal. And when you've got hormonal issues, it really does affect your sleep, affects pretty much everything, and your memory and stuff. So I'm very grateful that I'm able to remember lyrics, but it definitely affected my memory in other ways.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you recommend sleep?
Don't be like me, guys.
Get as much sleep as you can.
100%.
Yeah, but you do well to, you know, I'm a person that needs like 8-9 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So me hearing that you can do like 3, 4, 5, I'm like, I couldn't function.
I feel really weird. If I sleep for 8 hours, I feel so tired afterwards because I don't think my body's used to it. But 6-7 for me right now is perfect. Do you think there was a turning point in your life where things kind of did a 180 and you changed path completely? I would say actually, I think about in 2014 or 15, I started to go to Turkey a lot. Not with my family and not, you know, as a holiday, but to go out there to try and do gigs, because I heard that there was like a dubstep scene there. There was a bass scene in Turkey, and I couldn't believe it, to be honest. I didn't realize how much they followed it, how much they knew about the artists here and the music and stuff. So a turning point could have been that time where I started to travel outside of London on my own to do these gigs. But these weren't bookings. This was like me going to make relations with people, really grinding, doing stuff for free. Then also started to rap in Turkish and English. So the whole bilingual chapter opened up a whole new door for me over there. They really have like welcomed me into their scene in that country, which I'm really grateful for as well. But I think 2015, kind of getting involved in Turkey and stuff, that was like a turning point for sure. But not a complete 180 maybe.
Do you find that because I noticed whenever you put up, you do get a lot of bookings in Turkey and Europe. So that's a whole nother scene compared to what you have in London. Yeah,
definitely. I feel like I've remained quite underground in London. But in other countries maybe, there's been different opportunities, and I'm definitely someone that likes to stay versatile. It's the only way that I feel like I stay renewed for myself, if you know what I mean, and not bored. So it's quite interesting that they kind of receive it so well, because I never expected it either.
We talked a little bit earlier about your earlier days with Stinkerbell, and I said that I felt like you were the kind of front runner for female artists during that time. What were your years in Stinkerbell like?
Well, it's funny that you say like the front runner and stuff. I just don't think there was many females at the time doing it.
Yeah.
Especially MCing, especially kind of in a duo situation where me and Anton at the time, me and Natty P he was DJing, I was MCing, but he was the main producer, but we'd still co-produce together here and there. So we'd kind of make tunes on that same day. For example, we'd go in the studio and make like 4 or 5 tunes and play them in the same night at Cable.
Wow.
And people would come and it would already be mixed, and it was really weird, like the turnaround of how we done stuff at the time. It was just so fast and so kind of exciting. So people would come to the raves knowing that we had new tunes we made on that day just to hear them. Yeah. Because it would be like a next level of exclusive dubs. Do you know what I mean? Like,
wow.
So I guess think about days. It was lovely, man. It was a big part of my journey. I got thrown in at the deep end. I'd never really done professional music before then. I was always just recording tunes in the studio, blah, blah. And they were like, yeah, come to the rave and just spit, just host a show at first, and then it was bars, and then it was a really interesting like 3-4 years, I would say. Yeah, monumental. And at the time, I think we just started at the right time when dubstep was kind of building up. Then it completely blew up, and then with the hype kind of slowing down afterwards, we ended Stinkable anyway. And then I started my solo stuff. Yeah.
How did you feel transitioning from being in a duo to being a solo artist?
It was interesting. I felt like I had more freedom to do whatever I wanted. And that freedom is what I think made me feel so versatile. I didn't want to stick to, as I said to you before, I didn't want to stick to being known as just a grime MC or just a drum and bass MC. I wanted to be someone that just rapped over music and any sort. Do you know what I mean? Whether that's like a piano symphony, I wanted to rap over that. Whether it was like a tribal song, indie song, do you know what I mean? I never ever wanted it to be like, oh, she can't do this, or like the audience wouldn't understand me. So I tried to be versatile from early so that I would build, I guess, a wider audience maybe. It wasn't always understood though. There was many a times where I felt like if I'd stuck to one genre, it would have worked out maybe better in a way, but my soul just can't do it. I get too bored of one thing. Yeah.
Do you think being a female MC has ever been made an issue by anyone?
It's funny how you asked that question actually, because it's never an issue for me, but I do feel like it's an issue for people.
That's why I asked. Yeah.
Because I don't really ever care if I'm the only female or one of 10 females in a room. I just feel grateful to be there because I know I'm there for a purpose. I'm there to do something. So, I mean, does it matter that I've got a vagina in that point? Do you know what I mean? I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand the hype around it, but I get it in a way as well. I get it because people are just not used to it. People are not sometimes, especially when the times where I was coming up, they weren't used to females like expressing themselves in that way. You know, there was a couple of Donnies like Missy Elliott and stuff. I used to look around when I was younger and I used to be like, where are the artists that's like not sexualized? The female artists that are just doing their thing. And I guess I always looked up to those kind of artists. And yeah, I do feel like for some people, if not an issue, then almost like a clickbait thing as well now. Where it's like, oh, you're female, so you come down and you represent for the females, but I just want to represent for the MCs. It's a strange one.
It could be a thing where you know, there's always a big thing on Twitter about there not being enough representation, so maybe sometimes females are just selected to make up the representation, just to say, hey, look, we got a female on the lineup. But obviously being an artist is an artist, and you want to be represented for what you do, regardless of your gender. Yeah,
it's interesting, and that's why I feel like, you know, I'd much rather people book or include people for their talent, for their true talent, rather than just to make up numbers.
Have you ever had a booking where you feel like you've been there to, you know, be that kind of token, if you want to call it?
Maybe a few times. Definitely. I guess a few times it's happened and it's worked out really well actually, and I've gone there and been like, okay, cool. Couple of times you kind of get there and you don't even realise because, well, you don't understand why you've been put on that lineup because the music doesn't match anyway. And that's when you know you're just a number, if you know what I mean. But you do the job, you leave, and that's that.
Just go and kill it anyway.
Anywhere you go, like,
Your music is quite heartfelt and deep. I've picked up references to books and Law of Attraction, and your track Love is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Do you ever think to yourself, I can't say this in a tune because of whatever reason? Or do you just write it and think, I'm just going to put that out?
I mean, I have to write stuff that I feel.
Yeah.
I've never been a person to write something I haven't been through or that I can't relate to, if you know what I mean. So, no, I don't ever feel like that. What I've been feeling recently, though, about writing is I feel like I need to say more about some of the stuff that I've been through.
Yeah.
I feel like I write quite coded sometimes, and people have to decipher it. But sometimes, I would say in the last couple of months, definitely, I've started to realise where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to start revealing. I'm going to start truly explaining some of the stuff that's happened in story form or in whatever form. So if anything, I'm like trying to encourage myself to write more and more detailed about situations.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with that now.
Well, what's your personal link between music and mental health? How does that connect for you, if it does?
It definitely does. Big, like, I would say coping mechanism. I'm addicted to writing. I'm addicted to doing tunes. I can't imagine a life where I didn't. Do you know what I mean? Especially in this life, as Janset, I can't imagine not being able to put like the stuff that I feel into a song. So I think it has a big link in just like feeling alright, basically. Yeah. I really feel like if I didn't write music, then I don't know where I'd be. In all honesty, yeah, I don't think I'd be doing too well.
Wow, that powerful.
Yeah,
really, really powerful.
Definitely.
Does that work for you as an artist and as a human being as well?
Yeah,
both sides of the coin.
Because I feel like almost like writing allows me to release that, not carry it around, not worry about it. Also, you get like pent up energy from trauma and stuff that you've been through. And I feel like, some people would do boxing, some people would go do some kind of like physical activity to get that out. But if I write a song, it's just the same thing for me. Yeah. So I really do feel like, and that's, I guess, my perspective on music, because I really love it. And I don't look at it from people will love me if I write a song. I've never ever entered music into that way. It's always been poems, and then the poems turned into rap, and then the rap, do you know what I mean? It all was just a love of music that kind of saved my life, is what I've always felt like, as cliche as it sounds. Yeah.
How do you allow yourself to be so vulnerable? Because it can be quite difficult to sit down with a pen and paper, and even though it's just you're just thinking, how do I get these words out onto a piece of paper and basically reveal myself? Like, it's not as easy as it sounds. How does that work for you? How have you managed to do that?
I don't know, because I've always done it. Like, I've never had a problem with, like, you know what I feel like it's like sometimes? You have your own world, right? You've got this world that you live in, and you're walking around and that, and you're meeting people are seeing your persona and all this. The person you are on the inside, when you write, that's you and that. You in your own world. You're building like your own world inside you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I'm writing something, I'm like, okay, this is going to represent me, or it's a part of me, basically. So what do you want to say to the world? Or what do you want to say to this day that you're in now? Do you know what I mean? It's almost like always like a way to like remember who I am in a way, and to hopefully make people know who they are themselves by listening to my songs, if that makes sense. I like to make people think. I don't want them to just listen to it and say, okay, I feel good or whatever, but I want them to think about their lives and hopefully develop their lives and make things better, because that's the only way that I feel like music is a big tool to be able to change this world. So hopefully if we keep using it in this way, then it will make a difference.
In regards to it changing the world, do you feel like everyone should sit down with a pen and paper and try and make music, or do you think that it can be used in a different way?
No, I think creativity could be so many different ways. I mean, you could start to be a carpenter tomorrow and start making tables, and I think that's just as creative. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could be a painter, you could enjoy to write, like running and doing like athletic stuff as well. And I really feel like as long as you find your own vice and something that makes you feel good and passionate, basically when you wake up in the morning, if it makes you feel excited to be here, to do this thing that you love, then that's all that matters. And music obviously is, for me, it's that.
That reminds me of a quote now. Have you seen Sister Act?
Yeah.
The second one.
Yeah.
When she says, if you wake up in the morning and the only thing you can think of is being a singer, you should be a singer.
Yeah.
You're born to be a singer.
Definitely. It's so true. Because I felt like that for a while. I think when I was younger as well, I went through a stage of maybe 15, 16, where I didn't want to tell people. People used to ask me, are you a rapper? And I used to say, nah.
Oh, wow.
I don't like the title. Like, when I used to look at other rappers, I used to think, nah, that's not what I want to be portrayed as, if you know what I mean. But then now I realize that, well, it took a long time to get there, but I'm like, I am a rapper, but I'm just trying to change the rap world. Does it make sense? Like, I'm trying to change the definition of what a rapper is sometimes as well. So yeah, and I think that's when I realized if you wake up every day and you're thinking about writing bars, then you are a rapper. And if you've been doing it for a long time and that's how you feel when you wake up, you must do it. Yeah.
What's the definition of a rapper in your words?
Someone who enjoys creating a vibe through words.
I love
basically.
that. I love that.
Yeah. It's an obsession actually with words more than the lifestyle, more than the yeah.
I like that. I think that's quite accurate. And what do you think the perceived persona of a rapper is from other people's point of view, if it's not what you said?
I mean, people don't realize how intellectual like rappers can be in that. How smart, how quirky. Because sometimes I think from the persona and what they see from the outside, they just see the hard shell. They see confidence, which can be taken for arrogance. It can be taken for other things. Do you know what I mean? And I guess that's partly the rappers' faults as well in the world, where it's like they focus so much on like stunting and showing off and materialistic stuff. I think people just assume that rappers are just like that. That's all they care about, basically. But I think it's much more deep-seated than that. And most rappers do have a lot of mental health problems, and most rappers do feel like they want to be heard and they've got something to almost like protest about, if you know what I mean. Like, my mum always calls this music protest music that I do, because she comes from like an activist kind of background, and she's always been like, I'm so glad that you write about the stuff that gets to you or doesn't get to you. And yeah, so I think it's much more deeper than that. But unfortunately, in where we're at now, rappers are just seen as just people that couldn't have another job. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they didn't do well in school, so let them go be a rapper or whatever. And I don't believe in that. And I don't think people should be seen, like, looked down like that. So hopefully by, every day, by writing, by making these tunes, we're going to change that a little bit. But yeah, it's a long journey to get there.
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you think the link is between mental health and music, as you just mentioned? Because a lot of artists do have mental health issues or poor mental health.
Yeah. And weirdly, I feel like sometimes the music scene does that to the artists as well. So you feel like you don't want to miss out on anything. So you're going out and you're doing all this stuff like drinking, and people are taking drugs, and they feel like they have to do that to remain sometimes like relevant as well. Or they don't look after themselves or their health and stuff, and then they don't realize what happens like 10 years later when they're not doing so well. Do you know what I mean? Because when they were younger and all in their 20s, we wasn't treating ourselves too well. Like performing 5 times a week, for example, and drinking every single night, not sleeping too well is not gonna do well for you when you're in your 30s or 40s. But unfortunately, most music artists, they feel like they have to do that. So it would be nice, I think, as we were saying earlier as well, it's nice that we've got to a point now where people are not hiding their mental health, and at least it's like you can bring it to the surface, you can touch on it, you don't have to be embarrassed to speak about it. So I think it's just encouraging more of that, especially in the music scene, and to kind of throw all of that hard shell business off and start to tell people what you've been through so they can relate to you. Yeah.
What do you think your tips would be for someone in the industry if you were talking to another artist and you could see them on this spiral of living up to the hype or being in the hype? What would your tips be to them on how to, create but look after yourself?
Well, sometimes it's just reaching out, right? Even if it's like, if you see something like that, it's reaching out to that person and saying, are you okay? Like, do you want to talk? Like, I'm here if you need me. I really feel like some people are put on this earth because they like to have those conversations. Like, as we were saying earlier about the email thing, it's like, don't just say to people, hope you're well. Actually ask them, how are you? It's lovely.
Hope you're well. By the way, no, ask me how I am.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Do you really hope that I'm well? Like, what is that? That's just a formality, isn't it?
Yeah, no,
like,
you're right.
But you need to ask people how they are. And when you say to someone, how are you? You need to mean it. Not just how are you, you expect to hear fine, and then when they start telling you about their day, you're like, switching off.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's so important. Like, and I guess for me, the tip would be, I guess maybe, you know how people rant on like Facebook or thing?
Yeah.
Put in a journal instead, mate.
Yeah.
And you will see your life start to change. You can be quiet on the socials, but if you're loud in that book that you're writing to yourself, wonders. Because then you read back to it and you realize, wow, I've got stuff to work on, or why did I say it in that tone? Like even to myself, why was I shouting? Do you know what I mean? And then you start to realize that inner dialogue basically, and then you can start to maybe feel better when you're worrying, or you can stop that anxiety a bit better because you're realizing your own triggers. So, yeah, and to other artists, like, I'm the type of person where I feel like if I say to someone I'm there or I got you, I really mean it. Like, I really mean it. And I'd like to think I'm one of those people that people can come to me when they're not feeling too well. And I've got all the time in the world because it's so important. One conversation could make someone feel so much better, and it could save their life sometimes. Yeah. So, yeah.
All it takes is someone to listen and for someone to speak up, as hard as it is to say I need help or I need to talk, and that person that is listening is doing more for that person than they probably realise. Yeah. Yeah. And we need to stop ranting on Twitter and Facebook.
Obviously, don't listen to me, guys. Do what you want, like, do what you want. But yeah, I just feel like sometimes people do a lot to think that they're going to get something else from external people when really it's our own reactions. That's so important sometimes. So yeah, I would encourage it, yeah.
What's your music making process?
I just vibe. I vibe to the beat. Like there has to be a beat first.
Yeah.
I don't really ever write a cappella unless I'm doing poetry or other stuff. But yeah, it has to be a beat first. If I connect with that beat, I usually know within the first couple of days, so I don't rush to it. But if it doesn't come to me instantly, I kind of sit with that beat for a couple of days, and then what I'm going to write about becomes clear from what I keep thinking about when I'm listening to that track. The concept comes to me, then I just write. It just comes out. It writes itself almost once I'm like locked into it.
And how long do you think that? So you listen to it for a couple of days first, then you get your pen out and you think, okay, this is what I'm vibing to. This is what I'm working with.
Well, sometimes I'll listen to it on the second I open it. I'll be like, oh, I know what I'm gonna write. Yeah. Like, you just get it. You just get that vibe of something where you're like, oh, this is it. Yeah, cool. Other times I would have to sit for a few days, and then maybe even go to the producer sometime and say, you know what, I've sat with it a few days and nothing's coming out naturally, so I'm not going to force it. Should we try another beat? Yeah. Because I've passed the stage now of trying to just do songs for the sake of doing songs, you know what I mean?
That takes courage to stand up and say, actually, like, the beat's great, but it's not for me.
Yeah, because you know by the end of it, I'm like, if we do something that both of us are going to connect to, it's going to come out amazing.
So do you feel that your music has got the recognition it deserves?
Nah, not really. No, that's why I feel like it's a journey. It's a journey. It's a journey of coming out from being in this underground thing that we've got in London and truly pushing maybe to be heard in different places worldwide. That's my aim, truly. But then do I have a lot of fans that's loyal and that's followed me for a long time? Yeah, and I'm really grateful for those people because they're the people that build you up along the way. But I guess most artists will say this, it does feel like only the beginning for me. Yeah, in terms of exposure, in terms of getting out there, in terms of... But I've been doing it for such a long time, I feel like I've got that experience on my side, but not at the level, nowhere near the level that I'd want to be.
What does it feel like as an artist to put your heart and soul into a track and maybe not get the recognition that you feel it should have got, or the attention?
Madness. Yeah. It feels mad sometimes. Also, I feel like money plays a big part in it, you know. People don't realise how much money goes into marketing, how much money goes into promo, into PR, and when you're kind of coming against labels and stuff, you know, I worked with a big label like recently, and when I saw some of the budget of what they were putting into tunes, independent artists can't even reach that level. Like, I don't know if, you know, you wouldn't be able to put $5,000 or $10,000 into just a Facebook advertisement, for example. But does it help? 100%. So it's almost like living with the grind that we have in London and things being expensive, and also still being able to put your heart and soul into it and saying, look, this is independent, I'm going to put it out regardless, or dealing with the consequences that comes with that. Do you know what I mean?
It takes a lot.
It takes a lot, yeah. And you have to almost like not care. You have to not care. If it does well, be grateful. If it doesn't, next one. That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Do you get discouraged? Have you ever got discouraged of putting music out and thinking, well, you know, I don't want to do this because... Yeah,
there was many a times, I would say, especially through those times in like 2016, 17, when my family weren't doing so well. I didn't really want to put anything out. And I started to realise I was forcing myself to write tunes that I didn't really like, just for the sake of putting something out. So I've definitely got an EP or so that, I mean, I don't ever listen to. I know people probably like a few tunes that's on there and stuff, but I don't ever go back to it because it reminds me of that time, and it reminds me of how I felt when I was writing them, like almost feeling like I had to, whereas I don't do music like that anymore, which is such a lovely like relief feeling, if you know what I mean.
How do you see yourself in the music industry? If you were to jump outside yourself and take a look at Janset, what would that look like to you? What would Janset look like in the music industry? How does she hold up?
I don't know, you know. I'd probably look at me like, she looks a bit mad. Like, I don't know. I try to be like a little positive light, do you know what I mean? Even if my tunes are like hard, that's my whole thing, I think. I like to write hard stuff, but with like a positive message. So I don't know, I think maybe sometimes people look at me thinking she runs around a lot, she does a lot. But I couldn't say that I'm easily categorized, So I don't really know how people perceive me half of the time, to be honest, and I don't really think about it either.
I get that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a positive to not be able to be pigeonholed into a genre? Obviously, you're doing the music that you love to do, but I know you said sometimes you feel like it would have been easier if you just stuck to one thing, and people could say, "Oh, she's a dubstep MC, so we're just going to listen to her dubstep music." But
I think there's definitely pros and cons to it. Definitely pros and cons, but in terms of feeling versatile and free, I'm so glad that I've been able to stay in my own lane. Because there's definitely an advantage that comes from that as well, where no one can really compare you. You got a distinctive maybe like voice or tone or something. So yeah, I would say I don't like to be pigeonholed in any way in life in general. So yeah, I just kind of stick to my own thing and I respect everybody else's thing. That's that's how I like to look at life. Yeah.
What could you give me 3 words that describe your artistry?
Okay, let me think. 3 words. I'd say unique. I want to say adamant, but like determined.
Yeah.
Like I've definitely, I feel that. And another word to describe the music, maybe impactful, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, impact. Like that's a big thing for me. Like as long as a song has some kind of thing that's going to impact you, like and like make an impression, leave a mark. That's all that matters to me. Yeah.
I would say hard hitting, if that can be used as one word. Cheating there. I'd say deep and versatile.
I like that. I like that.
Definitely. Do you feel like your music has been impactful over the years?
I would hope, yeah. I would like to think that it has.
I think you can get that vibe when listening to your catalogue, because I've been through quite a lot of your tunes, and I think you definitely get that vibe. Personally, me anyway. So
no, I'm grateful if it does, because that's definitely like my aim of trying to make music. You know, it's all good doing the hype and shutting down raves and this, that, but ultimately, in 20, 30 years time, 50 years time, after I've left the earth, I want people to still listen to those tracks and feel like, yeah, she was trying to tell us something. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting sometimes where you look at people and why they write songs. Everyone's got a different reason. So yeah, for me, it's definitely having that impact and writing about stuff that will make people think.
What would you like people to know about you that they don't already?
Good vibes only, man. I'm sure people do know that maybe, but I'm literally just obsessed with just the good vibes of life. And hopefully making people feel good when they're around me and leaving them in a better position than what I found them as well, as a friend or a human or whatever. Yeah.
Can we break that down a bit? What does good vibes only mean to you? Let's just like delve into that.
like, it's not possible, to have a life where there isn't darkness or bad times or tension or stuff that happens, but dealing with those things in the most positive and understanding way possible. So it's like compassion, like it's having that, like no judgment on people or their situations, and just like seeing the best, trying to see the best in people, do you know what I mean? And seeing potential in situations. So good vibes only for me is just, I feel when people meet me, they have this impression where they think I'm going to be quite scary or hard or whatever, and then they're like, you're really nice. I'm like, well, what did you think? Like, why did you think I wasn't? Like, it's so weird, but so, and it's funny as well, even though we're like such smiley people, I know you're the same as well, bubbly and stuff. I think sometimes when people see us in public, maybe they think that that's a pretense as well. Yeah. Like, you can't be happy all the time. I'm like, whoa, it's not all the time, but 88% of the time, I'd like to say I'm quite cool. Yeah. Like I like to laugh and I like to make people laugh. And so I don't know.
What makes you smile?
Life, man. Just being alive makes me smile.
That's a big one.
I'm grateful. Do you know what I mean? I'm truly, truly grateful. If I wake up and I've got another day, I'm like, we got this. We can achieve something today. Like, so, and people just like being real definitely makes me smile. People being themselves, their true, authentic selves, and constantly trying to surround myself with that. That's definitely a big source of happiness as well. Yeah.
What kinds of things helped your anxiety when you were going through it?
I think we discussed some of this earlier as well, didn't we, together? Like, definitely affirmations and that. It's so cheesy. I know people hear it and they're like, what are you going to write? Yeah. Literally, you do a gratitude list and affirmation stuff just every day, especially when you're feeling down or scared or worried about the world. It will make you remember that there's stuff to feel okay about, basically. Yeah.
That's a big one, isn't it?
And going for walks and stuff. Yeah. Going for walks on your own and allowing your mind to process stuff. And that's definitely a big thing for me as well. Being in nature. Yeah. Spending time on my own in nature. I don't know what I would do if I didn't, basically.
I like going for walks, but sometimes I feel like I won't come back.
So you're in a Forrest Gump too.
Just sometimes you just have to like walk off the anger, walk off the stress,
trust me,
walk off the anxiety. One time I think I walked for about 4 hours.
Wow, I've definitely done that as well. Until you realise you're like, why is my feet and legs hurting so much? Yeah,
but you've been walking through the emotion or whatever it is. You've not even realised until you've got to somewhere and you're like, hang on a minute. Now I've got to turn back and go home.
I'm like, I'll walk back.
But I do think walks are quite helpful, and obviously because we've had lockdown and whatnot, everyone was just walking, weren't they? Walking is a thing now. It's cool to walk.
And going to parks and stuff. I feel like a lot of people never used to do it before. And I'm so glad now that people can just meet up in the park, and the same thing you're doing in the pub, you can do there as well.
Yeah, it's because we like being outside now, isn't it? Now because we were stuck inside for so long, now we can go outside and sit in the park and vibes.
Yeah, like, love it.
When we get a little bit of sun, we can chill out. No, what do you do to relax? Do you have downtime? I can't imagine you sitting and chilling. I feel like you're always up doing something.
Do you know what? Yeah, that was a big thing. Like when I got with my boyfriend as well, he was saying to me at the time, he was like, you don't really chill. Yeah. I don't ever see you just chilling. Even when you're at home, you're like still going through music and you're reading stuff all the time. But I'd say since 2019, I got really like ill at that time as well. Where I'd say about 6 months before lockdown, I got like overactive thyroid, and my body started going into some toxicosis thing where you get basically everything starts to work too fast. So your metabolism, your thoughts, your heart, everything just goes into overdrive. So I thought I was dying in 2019, and then I realized I need to chill. Like, I really do need to chill sometimes and allow my mind to just not think of stuff. So I started doing painting in 2019, and that's definitely big, like a life changer. From someone that always just done music and expressed myself through the tunes and that, now I feel like if I just pick up a paintbrush and start painting, my mind truly turns off. I feel peaceful, I feel happy, and that's been like a big road changer for me, basically, because I feel like I'm going down a different path, like when I'm doing painting and stuff. And hopefully in the future, when it gets better and bigger and you know, something will come from it. But for now, it's just in terms of like chilling. That's what I do. Yeah.
I'm gonna look out for some Janset artwork.
Yeah,
soon.
I got one for you still. I can give you a painting.
Sick.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Did you just decide to pick up a paintbrush and just go into it like that?
Yeah. It's so weird because I always wanted to do it, I think, over the years. But when I got ill, trying to write songs just made me feel worse. Like emotionally, I couldn't handle it. The thyroid does that to you as well. It messes up your emotions, your hormones. So every time I went to go write a song, it would just make me think of my life too much. But with a painting, it wasn't like that. I just picked up a paintbrush and I thought, just put colour on the canvas, man. Just do whatever you feel. And then before you know it, that starts to make some kind of sense as well. But you're not thinking about anything. You're not having to draw anything from your own life or your own experiences. You're just zoning out almost. And yeah, it was funny. I'd never thought I'd carry it on now until this stage, but I had an art exhibition not too long ago and I sold some paintings and stuff, and that was like a big step in just like welcoming this new kind of painting world. And weirdly, it's made my writing go better. Like I feel like I'm writing different when I'm writing songs now. So yeah, I'd say if you ever feel like doing painting, you should do it, because definitely something comes out where you're like, wow, why didn't I do it before? Yeah,
sick. As well as having your illness, obviously there were mental side effects to that, but did you ever affect you in another way? And I mean this like, so obviously you've got the symptoms, but thinking about being ill, linking it to your physical health, did that really, really get to you?
Well, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does make sense, because I was trying to ignore it for a long time and my illness got worse because I thought if I was to address it, I was going to manifest it. But what I was actually doing is just ignoring it, and the symptoms were getting worse and worse and worse until it got to a point where my body was close to shutting down. But in that time, I wrote an album because I was just didn't want to think about it. And I thought, if I don't focus on these symptoms, then maybe they'll just disappear or whatever. It don't work like that, man. You have to get checked out and you have to kind of not see it in an anxiety way, but see it in a way like I'm dealing with this in a positive way, then it does get better, I think, for some people. Yeah, so it did affect me a lot, like mentally as well, until I was forced to deal with it. I done a blood test, and then what came out in the blood test was so shocking because it was such a high amount of like thyroid activity stuff that was going on. He was like, you were so close. It was so close to death, basically. Wow. And that was like a big, big eye-opener. I think at one point my heart was like doing a dubstep beat, and that it was faster than 140, you know what I mean? It was like 142, 145 consistently throughout the day. And I was just like, I don't want this. I just want to feel good and I just want to feel peace. And I think just having that desire as well activates like positive stuff in you, maybe. Yeah. So definitely had a big impact though. Yeah.
What's your life motto? If you could have a line that said something about Janset and how she lives her life, what would it be?
I've got a really good one, I've just got to remember it.
Should I say mine while you're thinking?
Go on.
Mine is love makes the world go round.
Oh, love that.
Love you.
That. Do you know what? It's something like, success has no alibi, and wait, I'm gonna remember it. Failure has no alibi. I'm gonna tell you it. But it's basically on the lines of success and failure basically shouldn't be the thing that is the things that drives you in life. But at the same time, there's no excuse for success or failure, if that makes sense. Yep. Like there's no excuse for the failure, and there's nothing bad that happens if you don't succeed in life. And I think that's how I try to look at life.
That's deep.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't remember the quote, but
that's all right. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Where can we find you on socials, and what is next for Janset?
All the socials pretty much is Janset Music or Jan Up the Set. And next year you've got a couple singles coming out, and then 2 albums. That's pretty much finished. No date on the albums, but I'm telling you, when they hit, jeez, they're gonna hit, and hopefully in a big way and a good way, with the right kind of backing and stuff. But Yeah, I've definitely got a little drill thing coming out soon. So
nice.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah, I can't wait. And
if you want to send me a little exclusive.
Yeah, 100%. I will. Today I will,
That track that you sent me the other day was banging.
Thank you. Yeah, that's on one of the albums.
Yeah.
And that's definitely my favourite as well from the album.
Sick. Janset, you have been an absolutely wonderful guest. I've enjoyed so much. Do you know what? I feel like we could talk for ages.
100%.
We could do an 8-hour thing.
Yeah, Nikki,
we talked about earlier.
No, thank you for having me, girl. Honestly, it's been a pleasure and honour to be here. So anytime.
Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
I have been Elle Formosa. This has been Mental Health in Music. Thank you so much for locking in. I will see you in a couple of weeks. Take it easy.